Hi boys and girls, it's Miss Kehoe, the literacy teacher. Today I wanted to do something a little different than what I usually do. This won't have anything to do with literacy, but it will be a science experiment. So since it has been raining the last 2 days, I thought what's more fitting than a rainbow that you can have in a jar. It's kind of like catching your own rainbow in a way. So for this experiment, you will need honey. You'll need just soap. If you don't have blue, you can use clear or anything that you can change into blue. You'll need olive oil, or really any type of oil will work as long as it's yellow. You'll need rubbing alcohol, and then you will need some food coloring too. So those are all our ingredients that we will need. Also, what you will need, you need water as well. And you'll need a couple cups just to mix into. They can be styrofoam, they can be glass, they can be plastic, whatever works best for you if you'd like to try it. Also, the one big thing that we need is a type of jar. I just am using an old vase that I found. It seems like I like the ones that are a little more round and taller because it seems to work better than a large mason type jar. Also, I am going to have a light on and underneath a bowl so that when I'm putting all the stuff in, you can see not the grossness that you see right now in my jar, but you will see the colors as they rise and sit on top of each other. So let's get started. The first ingredient you will need will be honey. So I'm going to just put a bunch of honey into my cup. You don't need a ton, but enough that will be a good amount of a layer for you. I just have a lot of honey, so I just dumped a bunch in. Next, because this is going to be in 5 layers of the rainbow, it won't have all the colors, but we want to start with the darkest color first, so we are going to do purple. So I'm going to put 1 drop of blue and 1 drop of red into my honey, and then I'm going to stir it up the best I can. Once it is all stirred in, I will start by pouring it into my vase so that we can start the bottom layer of our rainbow. And if it's not quite purple enough, just like mine, I'm going to add 1 more blue and 1 more drop of red to make it more purple. Alright, so I think it's all set, so I'm going to start by pouring it into my jar, or my vase. Oops. So there's my purple layer so far. Next, we are going to do a blue layer, so it's just going to be the soap. So what I want to do, as I go through each of these steps, I want to get a little more careful as I go. The lighter the color gets, the more it could mix, and we don't want it to mix because we want a rainbow at the end. So I'm going to pour it where there's no honey on the edge. We will start to see a blue layer coming up. And this one I'm going to make it a little bigger. We don't really want to pour it all in the middle. We kind of want to go around. There we go. So now we can see our purple and our blue layer formed. Next, we are going to do water. So I'm going to pour some water into my cup, and we are going to make this a green layer. So we're kind of doing a backwards rainbow at the moment. So I'm going to put a couple drops of green into my water and stir it up. So for this one, because it is soap, and we know when we wash our hands how we have been a lot lately, we don't want the water to go in quickly because we don't want bubbles. So for this one, I am going to actually hold my spoon backwards, and I'm going to have it kind of drizzle in instead. So I still want to be very slow because I don't want to make too many bubbles if I do. But we are now forming our green layer in our rainbow. And if you make some bubbles, that's okay. It will happen. Okay, so now we have our green layer. Our next layer will be our yellow layer. So I'm just going to pour some olive oil into a cup, but I'm not going to put yellow in it. The reasoning for that is because when you put something that is heavier than the olive oil itself, so the food coloring is actually heavier than the olive oil. So what it will do is kind of make a lava lamp type reaction rather than mixing like how the green did with the water. And plus this is already yellow, so we don't need to add yellow into yellow. Okay. But I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put my spoon upside down. That way I can drizzle it in, because as a layer for these next two layers, it's going to be really important that we go really, really, really slow. That way we're not mixing it. You want it to lay right on top. Perfect. All right. Now, for our very last layer, we need some rubbing alcohol. And this will smell. But we would like to put it in a cup. I need one more cup. Just use a regular cup. So we now have purple and blue and green and yellow, and now we want red to finish it off. So I am going to put some of this in to a cup. I'm going to put 1 or 2 drops of red, and then I'm going to mix it up. I'm going to use the other end since I had something else on it, but I want to mix it until it's all red and mixed in. But I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put the spoon upside down and go really, really, really slow with this because I don't want it going through other layers. I want it to just sit right on top. And as I'm pouring this in, you can probably see that it's going through the red layer, but then or the yellow layer, but then it's coming right back up and sitting right on top. And I used a spoon today, but you could always use something called a pipette or like the turkey basters. I just don't have either at my house, so I used a spoon instead. So now we have our rainbow in a jar. So you can see each layer. You can see the purple, the blue, the green, the yellow, and the orange. So the reason all of these can sit on top of each other is they are different densities. So our purple layer is heavier than our blue layer, but our blue layer is heavier than our green, and so on. So even if we look at the blue and the red layer, the blue is heavier than the red. So we are able to see that all the layers are able to stick right on top of each other. Let me see if I can get this in the window so we can see it a little better. So we could see, oh, that's perfect. So now you can see it, and I can kind of turn it, and they're still on top of each other. Same with that. So I thought this was a really cool project to do, to show all the layers and how everything sits on top of each other, because something might be heavier in the density or in the mass. It's just like if you do a sink or float. Some items will stay on top because the density or the mass is lighter, and some sink because they're just heavier. Same with liquids, except now you can stack them on top. So if you want, you can always feel free to do this at home. You don't have to have all the materials I did. You could do vegetable oil and water, soap. If you have honey, you could do maple syrup. You could do just water and olive oil and change the colors if you can. If you can't, that's okay. So you don't even have to do all 5. You can just do 3. You could even just do 2. Just something fun to do at home and see how different layers work. And one thing you could do with that too is that you don't have to put them in the order that I did. If you think honey is lighter than water, put water in first and then put the honey in. See what happens. See if it separates the way it should. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you had a fun time watching this, and I hope that bringing a little science into the time at home was just fun and made you smile and went, oh, that's cool. So I hope you really enjoyed this, and I look forward to seeing you guys soon. Bye!